Hey everyone, I'm Adam Haritan, enjoying a beautiful afternoon outside here in western Pennsylvania. And as you can see, we received several inches of snow overnight. However, the sky is perfectly blue and it's a great day to be outside. This is one of the perks of living in Pennsylvania, winter scenery that looks like this. And even though it is pretty cold and there's snow on the ground, I still have mushrooms on my mind. No surprise, right? And so I thought I'd shoot a video for you regarding my thoughts on the 2016 mushroom season. How was it overall? How did I do personally? Was I finding a lot of a certain species? Was it an all right year or was it a pretty poor year? And whenever I say western Pennsylvania, hey, I'm exploring western Pennsylvania, what does that really mean, right? Where is that? Well, typically I'm referring to the land 10-20 miles north of Pittsburgh to about 100-150 miles northeast of Pittsburgh and all the areas in between. I don't typically go east of Pittsburgh too often. I don't really go south too often or west. Typically I'm heading north. So those are my experiences this year. And of course, all of this is subjective, right? So if I didn't find a lot of one certain mushroom, maybe you found a whole lot or vice versa. But I go out with the Western Pennsylvania Mushroom Club a whole lot, and after talking with them and listening to their experiences, my experiences typically reflect theirs as well. If I found a whole lot of certain species, they found a lot of it as well. If I didn't, then they didn't. But I want to hear about your season as well. Did you find a whole lot of certain species? Did you not? How does your list compare to mine? And you can leave a comment down below or send me an email, because I don't just want to share with you my thoughts. I'm genuinely interested in how these mushrooms are doing worldwide. So stay tuned. We're going to start with mushrooms earlier in the year, then work our way forward from there. So we're going to start with the Morel mushroom, everybody's favorite, right? So this is one of the first mushrooms that I was introduced to early on. It's one that I enjoy seeking out every year. We start seeing these even in late March, but April, May, even into early June. This year, how do we do? I didn't do so well with the Morel mushroom. Didn't find a whole lot. Last year was a pretty good year, 2015. 2014 was even better, but this year just didn't seem to produce as many Morel mushrooms as we're used to seeing, at least here in western Pennsylvania. And after speaking with members of the Western Pennsylvania Mushroom Club and going on those walks in April and May, we just weren't seeing a whole lot of activity. Some here and there, but not a whole lot. Now you may be the exception. Maybe you found 10, 15 pounds. You know what? I'm really happy for you. But here, personally, not so much. And I checked the tulip poplar spots that usually produce, didn't really see anything. Checked the dead dying elm trees that would produce dozens of Morel mushrooms on one tree. Didn't really see any activity. Now I didn't really check the old abandoned apple orchards. I don't really like exploring those areas for mushrooms, and if you do some research on lead arsenate, maybe you'll understand why. But I wasn't too disheartened, if I didn't find any Morel mushrooms or didn't find much, I was okay with that because spring is such a great time to get outside in western Pennsylvania. A lot of the spring ephemerals are coming up, a lot of the wild mustards, the nettles, the wild leeks, the ramps. And so it's just great to be outside in western Pennsylvania in the spring months anyway, and if I don't find Morel mushrooms, I'm okay with that. But generally speaking, not so much this year. We'll see how we do next year in 2017. The Chanterelle. This is one of my favorite edible mushrooms. In fact, a lot of the ones that we're going to talk about today, they're my favorites as well, and that's why I'm focusing on these in the video. There's a reason why they call them choice edible mushrooms, because they taste delicious. And of course, this one doesn't even get too buggy, and it stays relatively clean. So those are other reasons why I really enjoy Chanterelle mushrooms. We start seeing these in June, all the way through the summer, into fall, even into October. We were off to a slow start this year. So June, we weren't seeing a whole lot of chanterelles, even through July as well. Not so much, a few here and there, but it did pick up. And so I'm gonna say it was a pretty good year for chanterelles. Last year, incredible year, because we got a lot of rain in June and early July. And so those summer mushrooms just popping left and right. So we saw a whole lot of chanterelles last year, more so than this year, but it was still a pretty good year. But after talking with a lot of people in western Pennsylvania, the general consensus, at least from what I've heard, was that it wasn't that good of a year for chanterelles. But personally, I did find a whole lot of them. Didn't see any shortage of them, at least in the spots that I was checking. And so I typically find a certain species, which is Cantharellus laterideus. That one I typically find a whole lot of the smooth chanterelle. And I was really excited because I did find a whole lot of Craterellus tubiformis. That's the fall or the winter chanterelle. And that one you can even find into November, and I was seeing a whole lot of that as well. But chanterelle, generally speaking, a good year for chanterelle. Black trumpet. How do we do with the black trumpet this year? So we typically find the species Craterellus phalanx, start seeing that in June, July, August, September. Almost non-existent this year, I'll say that. A few dried specimens brought to the table during some of the meetings with the Western Pennsylvania Mushroom Club, but other than that, a lot of people weren't reporting any sightings of black trumpets. And those are my experiences. And I'm kind of bummed because I needed some good photographs of black trumpets, but what can you do? We'll wait till next year. So last year we found a whole lot. It was a banner year, just like with the chanterelles, because of all the rain that we received last year. This year it was a little drier, but it wasn't too dry, and still we didn't see many black trumpets. We saw some chanterelles, of course, not many black trumpets whatsoever, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. We'll see what happens next year. Chicken of the woods. This is a mushroom that looks incredible, it tastes incredible, and it gives you an incredible feeling whenever you find it. So how did I do this year with chicken of the woods? It was a really, really great year for chicken of the woods, but is it ever not a great year for this mushroom? I mean, last year we found a whole lot, the year before that as well. Ever since I've been hunting mushrooms, I think I found a whole lot of this in this state in Pennsylvania. So maybe this area is just a good place to explore for this mushroom. I don't really know, but it was a great year regardless. And so we find two species that we harvest pretty much for the table here, which would be Laetopor sulphureus, has a yellow underside, and Laetopor cincinnatus has a whitish, pinkish underside. We start seeing those as early as May, all the way through the summer months, but we really start to see them in September and October. That's probably the best time to find them here in Pennsylvania. And this year was no exception, found a whole lot. Now, unlike some other mushrooms like the Morel mushroom, the Maitake mushroom, this is not a species that I actively seek out. So I don't actively seek out chicken of the woods, just go to certain spots just to find it, usually, generally speaking. I'm usually looking for other things, and if I happen to find it, that's absolutely perfect. If I don't find it, I'm okay with that too. I guess you could say I like to be surprised with this mushroom right here. Anyway, chicken of the woods, it's a great edible mushroom, very easy to find, very easy to identify. Overall, it was a tremendous year for chicken of the woods here in Pennsylvania. The Maitake mushroom, Grifola frondosa, hen of the woods, sheep's head, whatever you want to call it. This has to be one of my favorite edible mushrooms. I absolutely love, love, love this mushroom. And I love dehydrating it and throwing it into soups all winter long. So how was it this year for the Maitake mushroom in Western Pennsylvania? It was a great year. It was a great year last year, and it was a great year this year. And I started finding it earlier this year than I did last year. So I started finding it in September, especially early to mid-September. Last year, I didn't start seeing a whole lot until October. And even during the Gary Linkoff foray, it's a great mushroom foray every year in Western Pennsylvania, hosted by the Western Pennsylvania Mushroom Club. Last year, a lot of people weren't finding it in late September, but this year we were finding a whole lot. A lot of them were brought back to the specimen table. And so I would say it was a great year for the Maitake mushroom. And we found it all the way through October into early November. It was also a great year regarding the research on the Maitake mushroom. And a great new study just came out this year in 2016 regarding a certain extracted compound known as diffraction. Maybe you're familiar with diffraction. It's a protein-bound polysaccharide. A lot of the research on the Maitake mushroom is actually being done on that compound, diffraction. And it's been known for some time that diffraction is anti-tumorous, especially against breast cancer and breast cancer cells. But it was always documented that it was anti-tumorous because it stimulates the immune system. And the immune system cells take care of the tumors. That has been known for quite some time. Until this year, brand new research shows that diffraction is not only anti-tumorous because it stimulates the immune system, but it's anti-tumorous independent of the immune system because diffraction directly interacts with the tumorous cells by decreasing the viability, the migration, and the invasion, independent of the immune system. So that's really exciting. Great year for the Maitake mushroom finding it, and great year regarding the research as well. So we've been talking about choice edible mushrooms that of course have medicinal applications, but most people seek them out for their edible properties. I want to focus really briefly on a medicinal mushroom, one that is an annual species that I actively seek out every year. And that one is Ganoderma tsugae, the hemlock reishi or reishi mushroom. So this is one that grows on fallen hemlock trees here in Pennsylvania, starting in late May, June, July, and you'll even see it in October and November. So how was it this year for this species? It was a pretty good year. Didn't find a whole lot, but it wasn't a poor year either. It was a pretty good year. Found just enough to make some medicine. And that's why I like to seek this one out, because I make it an active part of my medicinal strategy. Last year was a little better as far as the fruitings. You know, I found a little more of them. The year before that, 2014, it was not a very good year. 2013, incredible year. This year, 2016, a pretty good year. And I'm curious, do you seek this mushroom out? If so, how was it for you? New research on this mushroom as well from 2016 showing that an extract from Ganoderma tsugae has the ability to protect human cells against the damaging effects caused by, believe it or not, air pollution, specifically diesel exhaust. And here in Pennsylvania, you know, this could be a pretty important medicine. You know, the air isn't the cleanest here. It might be clean here where I'm hanging out right now, and that's why I like to spend time in areas that look like this. But once you get outside of here, you know, watch out. You better have your reishi extract on hand. And I encourage you to do more research on it if you're unfamiliar with this species. But overall, Ganoderma tsugae, a tremendous medicinal mushroom. It was a pretty good year for it here in Western Pennsylvania. So how about interesting species? Did I find anything fascinating that totally blew my mind? Of course, Cordyceps militaris. That was probably the coolest find that I discovered this year. And that one is the orange caterpillar fungus. It's an entomopathogenic species, meaning it parasitizes insects and then it kills them. And this one is specifically a parasite of the pupal or larval stages of moths and butterflies. And I was surprised to find this one in a hemlock forest in August, September, October this year in western Pennsylvania. And it is a medicinal mushroom. It's got a lot of research behind it. Traditionally, you're seeing research on the Asian species, which is Cordyceps sinensis. I mean, this is a premier medicinal mushroom. Very, very popular, and it can be quite expensive as well to get the real thing. However, when you look at the research on the one that I found, Cordyceps militaris, the one that grows here in Pennsylvania, you'll see that it has a similar medicinal profile, so it could be a great and useful alternative. You see research on its anti-cancerous properties, anti-tumor, antioxidant, antimicrobial, and antiviral properties. Now, I didn't harvest enough this year to make medicine. Perhaps next year, if there is a lot growing, maybe I'll harvest enough just to make personal medicine for myself. But you better believe I'll report back on that next year. So look into it. Maybe you'll find it where you live. Cordyceps militaris, the orange caterpillar fungus. So I think we'll stop there for the day. You know, we could continue on and on and on with dozens of other species like bluets and honey mushrooms and oyster mushrooms and lion's mane and bear's head tooth. But we're just going to focus on some of the top choice edible mushrooms, some that are pretty universal, some that you probably found as well. And I want to hear from you. Did you find a whole lot of morel mushrooms? I'll bet you did find a whole lot of morel mushrooms. And if you did, you know, maybe I could use some advice and tips from you. Or maybe you didn't find a whole lot of Maitake mushrooms, and maybe you found a lot of this, not a lot of that. Was there anything that you were surprised by? Let me know. You know, it's definitely not the end of the mushroom season. Just because the year is coming to an end, the fungal activity does not stop, because wood will continue to be broken down and relationships will continue to be formed in the soil, and the fungi will continue to operate an amazing network that is literally beyond our wildest dreams. And it's up to us to come out here and to acknowledge and to appreciate what's really going on. And this is what's really going on. Thanks so much for watching this video. Truly appreciate it. I hope you had a tremendous 2016 mushroom hunting season, and I'm wishing you all the best and lots of luck for next year's season. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next video.